So here we go, starting the Microsoft Excel project. I've entered a lot of the data in advance, so you don't have to sit here and watch me typing things in. But we're going to begin with step one. I've got the title of my business, the mouse pad here. It's obviously a computer supply store. And I'm going to center that title and turn these 6 different cells into one large cell by using the merge and center buttons. So that creates one large cell. So it's been merged in center. I want to go ahead and give it a different background color. Let's see, how about a nice light blue? And maybe a nice thick border. And while I'm at it, I should probably go ahead and make it a little bit larger. That looks about right. All right, and maybe we'll change the font color while we're at it to a nice dark blue. All right. Then in step 2, we're going to go ahead and we've listed the weeks over here. Now you have to skip a row because the data should not be confused with the title of the spreadsheet. So I've skipped a row, put in my week labels, put in my product labels here, and I'm going to use a size 16 font and any color except black. So we're going to select that text and go ahead and make it a size 16. And I like that same really dark blue, I think. There we go. I should probably do the same here. In fact, let me go ahead and just use Format Painter and do that as well. All right. So I've got the fictitious data in there. Product names, week names should be bold. But the data itself should not be bold. I think I'd like it a little bit larger, though. Let me go ahead and make these maybe a size 14. That looks good. All right. So I've got my, my formatting, a little bit of my formatting done here. And I want to get sums for both the products themselves. So I want the sum of all the products over here on the right-hand side and the sum per week of all of my products down at the bottom. I'm going to take the quick and easy way and use the auto sum button. You know about 9 other ways to do that. So I've got my product totals in column F and my weekly totals in row 9. And then I could use an average. So I need to create the average, but be careful, you don't include totals in your average. I'll highlight only the cells I want it to take the average of. And then I'm going to use fill series to copy that across. There we go. Okay, so we've done our totals and our averages. Those numbers should be formatted as currency. Now, in fact, if you use this little dollar sign, you by default get accounting, which puts the dollar sign to the flush left-hand side of the cell. That's fine if you like that. If you prefer currency, you can choose currency instead. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other to me. I'm going to leave mine as currency, but whether you choose currency or accounting, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to make each week and the words product total. Let's see. Let's make those, adjust that to about a size 14. That looks okay. Column A, on the other hand, I think I'd like that to be a little bit wider. I can either, well, if I double click, I'm going to get it wide enough, but that looks too wide to me. I'm going to make it a little bit narrower, and I'll choose to wrap the text here so that that looks a little bit better. And in fact, I'd like to wrap the text up here for product total as well so that it kind of fits in one cell. That looks okay. That's not so bad. Does that need wrap? No, that's okay. All right. So our basic data is here. That brings us all the way down to step number 7. We're going to chart the labels and the weekly data. Don't include the totals or averages. I want a column chart that puts it on its own page. So I'm going to include everything from A3 over through E8. And then I'm going to take the keyboard shortcut and hit function 11. That creates its own separate chart on its own page, the F11 key. Let me make that a little larger so you can see it. And several different things that I can do here. I'd like the weeks at the bottom of the page here and the data on the side. Let me switch row and column. There we go. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. You can choose different chart styles if you like, different places where the labels are and so on and so forth. You can retype the label up here instead of saying chart title. can show weekly sales. You can experiment with colors and all kinds of different things. I'd like you to know that if you were to change one of these data, for example, if I made this $5 instead of $543, the chart automatically updates. I mean, it's dropped to nothing. So let me undo that, and we're back in business. All right, so we've created our column chart. Step 7, then, that's all taken care of. I really would prefer the labels to the side, though. Can I change that? Let me see. Where do I go to change that? Chart tools on the design. Can I layout here? This is the one I like. There we go. That's just a personal preference that I prefer that color scales on the sides so that they don't get confused with the week labels. You don't have to do that. Back to where I was last looking. On step 8, we're going to create a pie chart. Now that pie chart, I'd like it to show how much of my sales were due to the RAM upgrades, how much were due to the virus removal, and so on and so forth. So what I want to look at is I want to look at the labels for the actual products, and then using control, the totals that each one uses. And then I'm going to insert, and I'm just going to choose a pie chart. Let's see, this one looks perfectly fine. Insert a pie chart, and I might have to move it around a little. Put that down here below. And I might even adjust it to be a little bit wider so that it fits nicely. Let's see, how's that? That's not so bad. And I'd kind of like to see that with, well, instead of the percents with the data off to the side, I'd really like to see it with the percents and the labels that they generate. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click, and let's look at the Format Data Labels. Is that where I'm going? And I'd like to see maybe the category name. There we go. That looks not so bad. And I can put the label outside the end, inside the end, best fit. It's entirely up to you. I don't need the color scale any longer because I can see which piece of pie belongs to each. In fact, if I change my mind, I can choose one, and I can just move it a little bit. Close that out. Anything else exciting there? That's not so bad. This looks okay. That's not so bad. All right, so we've created our pie chart. If you wanted to point out that one of them was the smallest or one of them was the largest, you can actually select one piece of pie and pull it out just a little bit. So we could talk about what it is that we hope to improve as far as video card installation goes. All right, so that's all together. Now, we want to go to the page setup. Let me see, I think I should just use this little complete page setup dialog box with a little down arrow there. And I want to create a footer, a custom footer that has my name on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, the date the sheet was created. So I could probably just go ahead and put in the date. That's fine. Set the orientation to landscape. So let's see. Landscape would be, I should be able to go to, where did it go? Oh, here it is. It was under page. Change it to landscape. And it asks me to center the data on the page horizontally and vertically. And it hints that that's under the margins tab. It's right down here on the bottom. Now, what's going on is right now this data by default is on the left-hand top of the page. That's where data lives. If I center it horizontally and vertically, then when I go to print preview, it will show the data in the center of the sheet, which is what I'm looking for. It also shows me that my chart's a little bit too big. So let me go ahead and shrink that just a tiny bit. There we go. That's looking more and more like what I want. So that brings me all the way down to step 9. Now, there are 2 or 3 different bonuses. I want to use data validation to prevent users from entering negative numbers anywhere in these sales data sections. So on the Home tab, I should have a place that talks about data validation. Maybe it's under data. All right, the search is over. It is on the data tab, and it's this funny little, the icon for it these days is a little green checkbox, a little red checkbox. It's under Data Tools. You can drop that down and choose Data Validation. And data validation is going to allow me to limit what the user can enter. I would like them to be able to enter decimals in case we have some dollars and cents. And I'm looking for numbers that are greater than or equal to 0. So you can have $0 worth of sales for something, but you shouldn't have negative numbers. And before I close this out and tell it okay, I'm going to go over to Error Alert. If somebody does try to enter a negative number, I'm going to put in a message. No negative numbers are allowed. Okay. Or better yet, grammatically, negative numbers are not. And we'll put that not in caps. And tell it okay. Now here's what happens. If somebody comes in here and puts in 0, that's perfectly fine. But if they put in a -2, it's going to give them that error message. So, and not allow them to do that. So I'm going to put that back to normal. So my data validation is done. Conditional formatting. If we have any sales between B4 and E8 again, any sales that are greater than $1,000. So let me see, that's back on the Home tab. That's definitely over here under conditional formatting. We want to create a new rule. I want to format cells that contain a value which is greater than or equal to 1,000. Well, actually it says greater than 1,000. So if we have a sale that is over $1,000, I'd like it to turn the fill color a nice green, maybe the font color a nice green, whatever looks good to you here. Tell it okay, and let's have a look. So if instead of 127 this was 1270, it turns it green immediately so you can see that that stands out. All right, so our conditional formatting, those 2 bonuses are done. One last step and then we're done with the project. All right, so step 10, we want to protect this thing so people can't overwrite our formulas. They don't know that this is not a static number. They're not looking in the formula bar. So this is counterintuitive. First you have to show it what is okay to change. So I'm going to highlight the weekly sales here. And I'm going to unlock those cells. By default, everything's locked. I'm going to unlock those. And then I'm going to protect the sheet. Now, it's tempting to put in a password. Please don't. That means that if you do make a mistake with your formatting or anything else, I can't actually unlock it and look at it. So don't put in a password. And most people aren't vindictive anyway. The minute that it tells them no, it's not that they're deliberately trying to hack your sheet. Go ahead and tell it okay. So somebody can go in here and they can change this to $5. But if they go all the way over to the total and try and type, it tells them no. That's what we're looking for. You should spell check and grammar check just to make certain that you haven't misspelled something. And when you're done, save it with your name and upload it to the assignments folder.